you're an ex-Muslim, yeah?
Yeah, that's true. Do you want me to give a brief introduction of myself?
Okay, go ahead.
One second, let me just change this here so you can look at the camera. So basically, I was born and raised in Lebanon. My family is Muslim. I was born in a Muslim environment. My mother and father are very strict Muslims. They still are to this day. We have a Sunni sect background. I currently live in Canada, and I have been an atheist since I was 20 years old. Right now, I'm 31. So it's been 11 years. I've had so many debates with a lot of people regarding the existence of God. And honestly, I've never had a really good argument. My friend recommended your channel for me to watch. He's a Patreon member. And when I did watch, I learned that actually you have pretty good ideas and very strong arguments. So I want to thank him for bringing me your way. And yeah, I'm pretty knowledgeable based on my good background about Islam. And now I prefer not to directly argue about Islam, whether Islam is the correct religion or not, because my main issue is that I don't think God exists in the first place.
Okay, so were you practicing Islam before?
Yeah, when I was a child, yeah. Up until I was
when you were
17. Yeah.
Yeah, and you say up to 17 years old, you're saying?
Yeah.
So until you were a teenager, so you didn't really like practice religion as an adult, you're saying?
No, when I was in university, I went deep into the reason of why we are here, why do I exist, and that took me down the rabbit hole of religion, of course. I've started with a book. I don't think you will like it. It's called The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. Yeah, see, you smile. It's
of course, because it's a funny book. That's why I'm smiling.
I mean, now looking back at it, it's a silly book, but it was the gateway. It's like a gateway drug to whatever I went through. So learning more and studying more about it, I've read about different religions. The closest one that I vibed with, if you will, is Buddhism, but still because they don't really believe in God. So for me, I prefer just to stay with the atheist side. And I wouldn't say God doesn't exist 100%. I would say God doesn't exist 99.99%. Yeah. So
you
that's
realize
where
that's
you
not
want
a
to see me
rational
as a
statement.
spectrum, if you want to say.
No, but you realize that's not a rational statement to say that God exists 99.9%. Because it's either God exists 100% or God does not exist 100%. It's a binary thing. It's either God exists or doesn't exist. Sure. God cannot exist 99.9%, and 1.1% does not exist. Of course, that makes no rational sense.
But in the sphere of my work, I work a lot with probabilities. So it's normal for my brains just to do probabilities on stuff. So I would say the probability is 99.99%. God doesn't exist, and I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and I would go with that direction.
Okay, so you're making a claim that God doesn't exist. If you say there is 99.9 or 100% claim, in this case it's 100%. But before I even ask the question I'm about to ask, sure. Do you believe in anything 100% as certainty? Yeah, is anything 100% absolutely true?
Yes, of course.
Okay, sure. So go ahead now and tell me, where is your evidence that you're going to provide to deny the possibility of the existence of God? Because you say 99.9%.
Yeah, so I believe
if not 100%.
I believe that the burden of proving whether God exists goes onto you, not onto me.
That's wrong.
How is that not true?
That's wrong. How is it? It's wrong because you make a passive claim. The passive claim you made was that God does not exist. What you could say is that there isn't evidence that I have for God's existence, but you cannot make a claim that God does not exist, because when you make a claim that something does not exist for a fact, then you must have evidences to prove that claim that you're making. If you make an agnostic claim, on the other hand, there is no proof for God. There's nothing that you can demonstrate that God exists. Then we can have a conversation about that. But you're not saying that. You're making a positive claim. So if I say, there's a difference. If I say, for example,
go on.
For example, if I say there is no clothes in your closet, there isn't anything in your closet. If I say that, I must have some sort of proof why I'm making that claim that there is nothing in your closet. because I'm making a positive claim there. I'm making a claim that there isn't anything there. I could say, on the other hand, I haven't seen anything in your closet. I have no reason to believe there is anything in your closet until I see your closet or anything that gives me evidence that there's something in your closet. I would believe it. All right, now I don't believe it because there is no evidence that there is anything in your closet. Now, these are not the same statement. To say there isn't anything in your closet is me denying the fact, the possibility of existence of something in there. I should have reasoning and proof for why I'm denying that possibility as a rational possibility. You're not just agnostic about it. You are claiming that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And you could not make that claim rationally. Why can you not make that claim rationally? Because everyone who believes in God, almost everyone who believes in God, believes that God is not inside this universe that we're in. He's not in the universe that we're living in.
Okay.
He created the universe that we're living in.
Okay.
He created the universe that we're living in. So if God is beyond this universe, transcendent of this universe, then that creator, you cannot make a claim that he exists or he doesn't exist because you're limited to whatever tools you have in this universe.
That's true.
You haven't left this
but
universe.
The same thing applies to you. You have the same tools that I have. Why are you claiming God exists?
No. Let's not make the fallacy if you do too or you too, or let's not make this fallacy, right? Okay. Right now we're talking about you. Then later you can ask me about my position. Why? Then I can ask you. All right, now we're talking about you.
Sure.
We're talking about the claim that you made is not a rational claim because you cannot justify it rationally and you cannot prove it. Do you agree on that first? That you cannot prove, you have nothing to show,
100%
to deny
that God doesn't exist, for sure. That's
even
for sure.
10%, even 1%, you have nothing to prove.
Not really, because if you really believe, like, let's say I believe 80% that God exists, it would be good for my actions in real life to be towards the belief that God does exist. At least
again, the probabilities don't exist in reality. Atheists should never mention. I'm going to tell you in a minute. Atheists should never mention probability because in your worldview, which is a materialistic worldview, there is no probabilities. Give me something that is that is probable, that is 50%. For example, a coin flip.
Sure.
Is a coin flip probability 50%, heads or tails?
Yeah.
That's incorrect.
How is it incorrect?
That coin flip, we know 100% whether it's going to be heads or tails based on knowing the factors that influence the flip. Meaning, if I know how much force exactly I'm putting into the throw, if I know the gravity, if I know which angle the coin is going to hit, if I know where is it going to land, and what else is going to hit when it lands, I will know exactly where the coin and when I flipped it, was it heads or tails? I will know exactly whether the coin will end up being heads or tails. And actually,
so let me try to understand you right. Are you trying to disprove the reality of probabilities?
I'm trying to explain something to you that you're not understanding.
Okay.
Now, there is a French scientist who made a machine, by the way, that flips coins and always gives you the same thing. Why? Because this machine is set with a certain force, certain angle, all of that. So it always 100% guarantees you that you will get that. So that means it's no longer a 50-50 possibility.
What would you say of an AI doing a random pick?
Be patient.
Sure.
So why do we say it's 50-50 possibility? The reason we say it's 50-50 possibility is because we are ignorant of the external factors. So the word random or probable is just a reflection of the human ignorance of every variable that is at play. Same thing with the AI. The AI is programmed. And if I know the exact programming of the AI, I will know whether the AI, the programming is going to lead me to this answer or that answer, or this random, quote unquote, random list, or that random list. Because whatever the AI is going to present to you is based on the input data that you put in the AI. And you program the AI to do probabilities. You're the one who input probabilities in the AI, how to do the probabilities. So if you completely understand how the AI works and every variable to do with how the AI works, you will be able to tell exactly what the AI is going to present to you before the AI presents you. So it's not random. You look at the stars, you think they're random. They're not. But bring an astronomer and he'll tell you these stars are this constellation, this is this constellation, etc. So it is just a reflection of our ignorance. So in reality, everything is cause and effect.
Sure, okay? Then you can say I'm 99.99% agnostic because I cannot claim for 100 for sure. But
Okay,
here's
I
the
don't
think.
think we can
What-
continue
okay,
this conversation.
okay. Can I ask you one
If
more
we're
question?
coming back
One
to
more question.
the
one more
probability
question.
again, then
Okay,
like
okay.
we're going
Can I
in a
ask you a
cycle.
question?
Yeah.
For you, God exists, right? It's 100% certainty that God exists to you, correct? Can I say
Yes,
that that's your
yes.
claim? Okay.
Yes.
What is the evidence that made you 100% sure? Just give me one. With 100%,
What's
that
the
gives you
evidence that made me
100%
100%
sure. Yeah.
certainty that God exists?
Yeah. Because if it doesn't, then you're
Yeah.
not 100% sure. Then you are along with
The
me. You're
u-
an
the uni-
agnostic in
universe.
the Muslim
Yeah,
side. Yeah.
yeah. You didn't do it. I know you think you did something clever there, but sadly, nothing is clever about this conversation so far. The reason I know, I'm being honest with you, because these are,
Sure.
are very simple concepts,
Sure.
and you're not able to grasp them. The reason I know for a fact that there is a creator, the evidences for it, for me, is the universe. What do I mean by that? The universe cannot be created except if certain attributes are possessed by whatever created the universe. Meaning, the universe that we have has a starting point, which is the consensus of the scientific community today, referred to as the Big Bang or whatever
Big Bang,
term you want to use. So that starting point of that universe that exists that we're living in today, that universe, if it has a starting point, it has to come from somewhere. Why? Because this universe is matter. It was compressed into something so small, like a singularity, and then expanded. It requires a cause by definition. Now, whatever the cause is, it would require certain attributes by necessity. Meaning, it would require power we cannot even comprehend to be able to compress this universe into a singularity, create a universe that is full of atoms. Each atom is full of so much energy. If we split, we have a nuclear explosion. That's how nuclear explosions are.
Sure.
Now, the universe is all atoms. Now, it will have knowledge that we cannot even comprehend because of all of the gravitational systems, because of all of the electromagnetic waves, of the constellations, of all of these universes that we still even haven't fully discovered till this day. So whatever brings the universe into existence, which is not bound by time-space continuous the same way we are, it's not restricted by it the same way we're restricted. Rather, it made it, it created it. So if it brought the universe into existence and time-space continuous and has no power you cannot even comprehend, and knowledge you cannot even comprehend, it is by necessity what people refer to as God. Now, I can know that for a fact because there is a universe. And if there is a universe, then by necessity, 100% fact, there must be whatever brings it into existence requires these attributes. For example, if you have a phone in your hand, it's a very simple example I'm trying to explain.
Yeah.
If you have a phone in your hand, it is a fact that whatever created that phone had knowledge of language, had ability to assemble materials, whatever. These necessary attributes to create a phone must have been there. Otherwise, there cannot be a phone. So the phone itself can be 100% fact and proof for the existence of the manufacturer that has certain attributes. So how do I know for a fact? Here's the evidence I can easily provide in 2 minutes. I provide you. Instead of going in a circle of not even understanding what probability is.
No problem.
It's very simple that for a believer to present why that's one evidence, by the way. There are other evidence, but that's an example of a rational evidence, a case that is made to show that there must be something that brings this universe into existence. Now, what would you say to that?
I would say that, yes, I agree with you that given the universe that we are in, there must have been something that we don't understand that caused the universe to happen. Now,
not just something that we don't understand, something that by necessity possesses.
By necessity has to exist, for sure, and that
not only exists, but possesses the attributes that I mentioned. If it created time-space continuous, then time-space continuous doesn't apply to it the way it does to us. That means it sees the future and past and all of that.
Yeah, and you contribute that also to God, right?
No, that is the classical definition of what people call God. Go to anyone and say, "Who is God?" They'll tell you something powerful like, "No way I can understand," brought the universe to existence and all of that. That's it. So by it's a fact. It's a fact that this is what God is in the classical definition of people.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you say about that?
I'm agreeing with you. I know that I'm agreeing with you that in the universe we are in, for sure, with all the constraints that you're saying, there has to be something that is that's able to create whatever we are living in right now, right? This is what you're saying, right?
Okay, so
I agree with you.
No, I'm saying that's a fact. That's common sense.
Sure,
it's a reality.
Sure.
So now you moved from 99.9% there isn't a God into 100% fact there is a God, and you see how simple that was.
You are just saying that this thing is called God. That's it. You're
No,
just giving it a
no,
name.
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying that. You just agreed with me a minute ago, and be honest and sincere that this is a classical definition of what people call God.
Okay, but you're saying it's a classical. Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's what people call God. If I say what is God, that's what you're going to say. So, like, it makes no sense for you to try to change. Like, again, now you want me to call it Allah?
I'm not arguing it.
What do you...
There's nothing to argue.
Yeah,
it is correct.
Okay, so that's the point I was making. From a minute, you moved from 99.9 into 100% the other way. Why did I say? I was trying to give you advice. What is the advice I was trying to give you? Do not make positive claims confidently, like you were doing, about the existence of God when you are in a position of ignorance. Okay, you may have not met someone who is able to present you or give you a strong case for the existence of God before. That doesn't mean that there isn't a God. It just means that you haven't come across someone who presents you with a rational, reasonable case for the existence of God, in which we've just done in this case. Okay, so if there is a creator, now you move into the next step. Is there a truthful religion? Is there something that comes from God? Is there a religion of truth that comes from that creator? That is the next step that you make. Because if there is a God, there's many people who came across history, and there are people even today that all claim either that they come from God or that they have information from a messenger that comes from God. Okay. Do you agree on that?
Not really, no.
Okay, tell me why.
I'm moving. Okay, so
I don't think you were listening, but okay, can you tell me what I said to you that you said you don't agree with? I know you're not listening. I can read that your mind is thinking about something else while I'm speaking. I've been doing this for I've been doing this for quite enough. I know. I've been doing this for a while. I can read people very well. Look, I repeat again what I said before. You
for sure, you're way more experienced in the debate aspect, but it's actually, like, being really honest with you, I didn't expect the conversation to go that way, and I already know that you're a very smart person. But the thing is, I know the design argument that you're saying, that for a phone you have to be.
That's not the design argument.
No, I know.
That's not the design argument.
Sure. One second. Let's take a step back, right? You are saying that you have proof that. No, and I agree with you that given the world, the universe we are living in, there is a God. No. Okay, scratch everything. Okay, I just told you that God exists. I understand what you're saying. Scratch everything.
Okay, never look. Yeah, whatever you can call it a higher power, you did not change anything. You have not changed anything in reality. It's the same thing.
Of course,
it's just, it's what's happening here is a sense of denial now, right? That's what's happening. That's why you're clutching into the idea of which word it is. Doesn't matter really what the word is. Okay, let's come back again. Let me repeat again what I said to you before. Whatever you just said. Okay, look.
I'm not comments.
I said, if there is now this creator of the universe with these attributes, then now it's a very important question for us to think about why we exist in this life, what we're doing here, who brought us into existence. That now has to play into our whole existence in this life. Do we have a purpose? Do we exist in? Because we are created, we're made by something more powerful than ourselves. We're the only living thing in this universe. When we look at this massive universe, so there must be a purpose. Somehow, somewhere, we see these animals, they have purposes. They all run in harmony. Everything is in a perfect system. That only the human being is corrupting in a way. That if you left things into their natural system, if you have this perfect system that is working in harmony, these animals, these insects, how they're living together, etc. Now, if this is the case, now there have been, let's say, tens of thousands, or let's say hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, or let's just say thousands of people who came throughout history that said we are sent by that creator. Do you agree? Of course, this is the fact, right? And there are people today who try to tell you about that creator. They tell you, okay, we have information from a messenger, revelation, whatever it is. Now, it will become now an obligation upon us to investigate, because if one of these come from that creator, then it would be a very serious consequence that will end up in if we don't obey that creator. So two things we need to do: investigate, see if they have evidences or not.
Okay.
And if they do have evidences, then we need to take whatever claim they're making, whatever claim God is making in this case, seriously.
So the first thing is to get evidence, and the second one is
not to get evidence, to investigate people's
claims
that make a claim that they're from God. And the second thing, if we find evidence with a person that it is from God, then we
you have to take it seriously.
Yeah, meaning you follow it, you listen to it, whatever the claim is, whatever the creator wants from you. Because if the creator created this massive universe, including yourself, then I would say, if it's
How
that
do you get the
powerful and
evidence
that
then?
knowledgeable, okay, so that's the next step.
Sure.
You investigate the people that are making the claims. Now,
Sure.
there aren't really many major world religions, and it's not hard for you to know which one is from God and which one is not. Because if the creator sent you a religion, if he sent you whichever religion, if he sent you something, it would be easy to find. Otherwise, it's not guidance. He wouldn't send you a message that you cannot even find. So he's not going to send you a religion somewhere deep in the Amazon forest.
So here's my question: Why does God want to send you something? Why does He have to send humanity something?
Again, it's not about God having to send you. You need to listen to what I say carefully. I said there are people who made the claims that they're sent by God.
Okay, so why do you want to even investigate those people?
Wait. Because it's either a reality that God has sent someone or He hasn't. And that is a very serious thing that I need to be careful of. So if there is someone that is sent by God and I ignored it, and there is a consequence for that, that would be just stupid for ignoring the message of God.
But
so if there is a God,
you're going to be investigating everyone on Earth.
Listen. Now you're not really listening. Now you're not really listening, and you're just arguing for the sake of argument.
I swear.
With all due respect.
No, okay, sorry.
No, you just keep looking at the comments and you're just
I swear,
with the response. It's not about that. It's about you actually trying to process information.
Sure.
We accept that there is a creator that is more powerful that we can comprehend and more knowledgeable than we can comprehend. Created the universe. Everything in the universe we can see is guided. The ants, literally ants, you see your brain, which is relatively big when it comes to the size. Now, how many ants can fit in this brain of yours? Probably thousands of ants, right? Sure. They're very, very, very small ants. You can even go to hundreds of thousands. Now, this small, very, very small ant, you know, this very, very small ant has a military system, has a hierarchy and a queen system, have prisoners and prisoner guards. They make literal prisons. They have a queen system. They store their food. They work in an army kind of a battlefield. Now, what guided this ant that doesn't even have a brain, that even humans until this day cannot even learn some of these tactics? What guided it to do this?
You are assuming
it is because... No, I'm not assuming. We've already agreed that whatever brought the universe into existence is that higher power or creator. Now, that creator literally created the ant because it created the universe. So it's not about assumptions anymore. It's a reality. So if the creator have guided this ant or whatever else is in the universe to behave in the way that they behave, like the trees, like everything, working in a system, the human beings rationally are not going to be the odd one out. Now, we said there are many people that were sent throughout history that claim that they are sent by that God. So what a rational person they would do is to investigate the claim of that person that is saying, I'm sent by the creator. I have evidences I'm from God. I'm sent by the creator. The creator wants X, Y, and Z from you, hypothetically.
Sure.
Now, what a rational person would do is to listen. Or you could say, I'm not going to listen. I'm going to do whatever I want. And then when you die, you end up receiving the consequence of whatever that messenger was sent by God, because God is the one who was sending you that message. So you receive the consequence of whatever that message was. So all what we're saying here is the rational course of actions that you would take is to investigate that religion that comes from God. Now, after that, you come to a conclusion, whether that comes from the creator or doesn't come from the creator.
Can you say the last question again? The one you just said.
No, okay. Look. I maybe you need to process some of the information that we said. All I'm going to say is because before I move on to the next person, I have a lecture on my channel, for example. It's called "Compelling Evidences for the Truthfulness of Islam." Now, since now we already passed this idea stage of the existence of a creator. Now, the next stage is, why is Islam the truth? Why are we following Islam? Welcome to watch that video, which gives you just a glimpse. There are many, many other videos that are present. It gives you a glimpse of the evidences, the rational evidences, that factually proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that Islam is from God. And if this is the case, then by definition, we need to listen and follow whatever the message of Islam is. Okay? So that would be the homework that you can do, or the research that you can do after our discussion. And then maybe, you'll change your position and realize that things were not the way
I have no problem with changing my position. As long as... Of
course.
I will rewatch everything we just said right now. Because I was irritated from myself because I couldn't keep up. So kudos for you for being very smart and
it's not about me being smart. Again, look, this is not about me being smart.
I know you
It's
made
not
me
about
think of
debating
something I
skills.
never thought of before. I agree.
Yeah, no. It's about true and false. Like, it doesn't matter how smart I am. I'll tell you this for a fact. For example, doesn't matter how smart I am. I cannot defend the belief of the Trinity, for example, as a Christian. If I became a Christian, I cannot defend the idea of the Trinity. It doesn't matter how smart I am. So it's about something being true or false. So it's not attributed to me. It's attributed to the reality that what I present is true. And because truth is evident, as the Quran says, قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. The truth is clear and evident from falsehood. The truth is clear. It's like the sun. It's not something that you can debate against, right?
Okay.
So that's why you think this is a thing of intelligence, but it's not. So, and though it's not about, oh, you look this way, I look that way. It's about reaching the truth in the end. Hopefully that you end up finding that.
Wait, can I ask you one more thing before you can go for another person?
Sure.
Is it how many times do you do the live streams?
Like usually once or twice a week.
So
during the weekend.
Before I came to the conversation, I was recommended that I would prepare. Honestly, they just told me about the stream 2 hours ago, so I wasn't prepared. I loved the conversation, knowing that I got absolutely destroyed. I acknowledge that. I know that I wasn't able to fully present my arguments. Is it possible for me to come again another time, or that's something you cannot do? I will be way more prepared. I will know I have ideas, and I will know exactly what I want to say. And I will turn off the comments. I will just make everything sure that I am just talking to you.
Okay. Thinking about, look, there's two types of people: sincere person and person who's coming to discuss and argue and think about who won, who destroyed who, and this and that. There's two types of people. Now, you could either be the sincere person and you say, okay, you give me a lot to think about. This seems rational. I changed my position.
That's true.
Now I'm going to go and investigate more what you told me about. Like, for example, evidence of Islam and this and that. And if they're true, okay, no problem. I'm going to see what I come up with, and I'll come back to you with an update. No issues. No
I can do that. Yeah, sure.
Welcome to come back. You're welcome to come back. Or you could say, okay, I feel like I got destroyed in this argument, whatever term you use. And therefore, from now on, I'm just going to go and try to prepare a list of random things so I can come next time.
No.
And trust me, whatever you'll come up with, it's not really going to go much different from the way it came right now.
No, not preparation.
I start the stream.
Not preparation in sort of information. The information are in my head. Preparation in form of me being prepared to discuss with you. I wasn't prepared for the conversation, not about the information, because in my mind and everything is well organized, everything is fine. But apparently me showing it to you or presenting it to you has taken me off guard, and that's what I'm trying to say. I understand what you said, and I know what I wanted to say, but somehow I wasn't able to share it.
No problem. Your question was, can I come back again? If you come back with a sincere attitude, after researching and investigating what we talked about, you're welcome to come back. That is the response to the question.
That's all I wanted to ask.
All right, my friend.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for the respectful manners, and hopefully we'll talk a different time.
For sure.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, brother.
May Allah guide you.